بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is another chapter from the book Propaganda Pundits Masquerading the Salafi Dawah. And the reason that I'm continuing this series is because just to give you attributes or descriptions of what is propaganda and what are the attributes of it. It's not necessarily about names at this point, because we know who we're talking about and we know the particular group of people. But what we want to try to do now to my people is that we want you to be able to recognize it when you see it. I want you to recognize it when you see it. And from those characteristics is bandwagon propaganda. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, this is a tool of the Jews and Christians. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قَالُوا لَنْ يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ هُودًا أَوْ نَصَارَى. And they say none shall enter paradise unless he be a Jew or a Christian. And this is the same technique that you'll find this cult using, or these propaganda techniques being used, where they say if you're not with us, you don't pray at our masjid, you don't sit in our classes, you don't take from our particular scholars, and then they say you're not from the people who are saved. This is the same technique that was done and is being done by the Jews and Christians that was done during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Everyone wants to be a part of a pack. So this technique highlights the attractiveness of the group or trend of a verdict in order to influence fence sitters on an issue by making them feel isolated, unpopular if they do not make the decision to join the crowd. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. And the issue is that it is this technique is used basically to make you feel as though that you're isolated and alone on an island, and that your position or that the statements that you're taking and believing in has no relevance to it whatsoever. So what they do is, some of the techniques they use, for example, they say the scholar said, and we'll get into that. Ibn Hazm said the majority or minority is meaningless. I have written a book about the subject that Abu Hanifa, Malik, Ash-Shafi'i opposed the majority of scholars, and included within this book are their statements and views which were not said before them. He said one of the subtle techniques is when the propagandists announce the scholars. Why do they put the S on it? In order to influence people. In reality, the scholars is only a catchphrase which does not embody any more than 1, 2, or the maximum of 4 scholars at a time within Salafi publications and its franchises. One of the things we have to understand is this. We're dealing with a machine. We're dealing with a situation where it's like McDonald's. Okay, it's like McDonald's. McDonald's has Ray Kroc, who stole it from the McDonald's brothers, which we'll find that the Salafi publications, they conquered Salafiyah in their minds from the text, and then they misappropriated and misused it. And then what they do is that they try to make it theirs. So they created a franchise. And then what they do is now you can come be a franchise owner, being an imam or so-called da'i amongst them, and they give you a masjid here, they give you a masjid there. And it's like a McDonald's. You're the franchise owner of a masjid underneath the franchise of Salafi publications. This is all that's happening here, people. All that's happening here is that it's a franchise company and has franchise owners, and every imam or every da'i that's underneath their umbrella is nothing but a franchise owner of a particular masjid to push a particular agenda on our people and on the Americans, whether they be white, black, or whatever color they may be, from amongst our people here in America, to keep them isolated and broken off from Salafiyah in its totality. That's just what's going on. That's what's going on. They give us a version from a particular country, from a particular place in the world, and hey, this is Salafiyah. Anything that's not from this particular country or a particular place in the world can't be Salafiyah. This in itself is Hizbiyah. But they railroaded us and made us believe that it wasn't. So by attaching the word the before scholars. It sends a signal, meaning that the topic being spoken of is collectively shared information and credible enough to be accepted as ijma'. See how they do that? See, it's all about psychology. It's all about mind and word games and mind games. Somebody comes up and they say, the scholar said. You, on the other hand, you're not even going to reply because the scholar said. In your mind, you never ask, well, what scholars are we talking about? Is it every scholar in the world? Is it a particular scholars in a particular place? What scholars are we talking about? The scholar said? How many said? From what region said? For what madhab said? You never ask those questions. They said the scholars said. And it may be only one or two scholars that actually said it. But we keep falling for the same mess. At some point it becomes our fault. The headlines read, the scholars praise so-and-so. The scholars warn against so-and-so. Such titles are enough to arouse a person sincerely seeking the truth to get on the bandwagon. However, it completely goes unrecognized who exactly the scholars include. Who are they? Does it include the scholars in Mecca, Medina, Riyadh, Yemen, or any other region? Or is it merely regulated to a select few amongst many? See, what they do with scholars is, they do the same thing McDonald's do. What's today's special? They do the same thing. You get on the menu, let me get a number one. Let me get a number two. Listen, they got scholars on roller like it's a menu, akhi. So a scholar, he on the menu, and then you point up there, and then they give you a Rolodex of these different foods you can buy. It's nothing but all these different scholars' names. You don't even know half of them, or less than half of them. And what they do is they start throwing names out there. Big Mac. A number 3. And you so confused because your mind is corporate. You incorporated. You have a corporate mind. And they have subdued your brain. So then they got you believing that these catchphrases and these brand names that they have branded, because a lot of times they give us brand names that's not brand names in the country that they live in. But they make them brand names to us. They make them household names to us. And they're not household names in their own countries. And this is the thing. And not saying to take anything away from the scholar. A scholar's a scholar. We're just stating the facts. The fact is that you try to make something brand name to me that's not brand name in the country that the person is from. So that's that. So he goes on and he says, number 7, pay attention, people. The point of this whole thing is so you can look at characteristics and techniques that are used by this propaganda pundits and by this cult so that you never fall into it again. That we never allow this to happen to us again. We cannot allow another 20, 30 years of our children and our women being underneath the rule and the subjugation of a cult and this oppression. We can never let it happen again. And if we do, we are not men. It says, A'udhu billahi an akuna min al-jahilin. And he says, I take Allah's refuge from being among the ignorant or the foolish. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the statement of Musa alayhi salam, in Surah Al-Baqarah, about seeking refuge in Allah from being ignorant, but yet still they disparage education. And they may not, you may never hear them actually say that. Sometimes, but we did hear that. They did say going to college was haram many occasions. But they don't have to say it. The fact that the communities that they're over or reside over are not rising above educationally, are not getting degrees, are not establishing businesses, are not establishing economics, or academics, or social reform, shows they disparage it. It shows they disparage it. And he says, there is an emergently disturbing lack of reverence for education. And it was easy to do that to us, because unfortunately, the people in the inner city, we don't respect education. So it's easy to play this game with us. Oh, you know, it's haram to go to college, akhi. Akhi, you going free mix, akhi. You know, but it's permissible me to have my hand out for Section 8 and welfare. It's permissible me to ask a woman if she on the 8, so her rent is $90, so I can live off of her. That's permissible. But it's not permissible for me to better myself. When we gonna stop playing? We're gonna keep running with these games. Why are we gonna keep going for this, akhi? How are we gonna keep going for it? It says, and intellectualism. Today amongst a small group of Muslims. You can't even have any intellect in these situations. You can't think for yourself. You can't think for yourself. Person say, well, I don't know about that. And if you question anything, you're outside the sunnah. We're not talking about questioning the text. We're talking about questioning your explanation of it. I'm questioning you, actually. I'm questioning you. Nobody ever asked why that we only been given one side of everything. And the Islamic world is big. And the skies of the Sunnah are vast in many regions. How come we never were giving the other point of views on issues? We were just given one view from one country, from one region of the world. And if you don't believe in that and you don't accept that, then you're not Salafi. How is that even possible? When there's scholars from other part of the world stronger in knowledge than the scholars from that region they're talking about. But yet and still, we've been pushed on an agenda. Think about it. And one of the agendas is that, for example, you can tell, look at our mindset. If a scholar, we may not say this, and don't mix up my words. If a scholar is not an Arab, we don't give him the same praise. If a scholar is not Arab, we don't give them the same praise. We don't hold them to the same level. Psychologically, there's something missing there. There's scholars in West Africa, mighty in ilm. India, Pakistan, Indonesia, scholars. But if we say their names, nobody knows them. And we think that because they're not Arab, they can't be a major scholar and they can't be somebody holding more knowledge or equal as another scholar in that particular region. This is the death of intellectualism. Today, having an Islamic university credential is perceived by such individuals as not a sign of credibility, but a lack thereof. Man, it don't mean that he got a degree. What that's supposed to mean? What that's supposed to mean? Even though Sheikh Fawzan said a degree shows you don't need permission to teach. But without a degree, it shows that even if you know it, you still need permission to teach because nobody knows if you know it. A degree may not prove that somebody's on the sunnah, but it does prove what? But it does prove what? That the person has the right to be there and teach. He said, in fact, among some advocates of the Salafi Dawah and preachers in the West, when I say Salafi Dawah, I'm not talking about the manager of the Salaf. I'm talking about a cult, a hizb, and a gang. I'm not talking about Salafiyya itself, which is the truth. I'm talking about a gang and a clique that has come in a foreign invasion of our communities with foreign ideologies and a foreign agenda. Evidence of intellectual competence is treated as unimportant. Think about that. Anybody that wants to be educated in any way, he's called Ikhwani. He's called, he wants the dunya. He doesn't care about as if being Salafi is equal to being poor. Being Salafi means I have to live in the ghetto. Oh man, the masjid down the way. I'm gonna stay down the way. Actually, what kind of mentality is that? I gotta stay in a neighborhood that's one of the worst neighborhoods in America, crime and violence, because the masjid is there. And I can never rise above that because if I do, I run the risk of not being Salafi. I mean, as if growing and being better means I can't be Salafi. But being on Section 8, accepting welfare, getting an access card, not graduating high school, being married multiple times, in and out of marriages, that's okay. But rising above and being a better human being and being a better, not a dredge, not being oppression on society. I'm here to aid society. That means what? The whole point of Salafi, the whole point of the revelation is to uplift society, not be a burden on it. It's treated as, and snide remarks are made about graduates. Education and other evidence of being trained properly and systematically are direct threats to hive mind mentality. Because if you get educated, the hive mentality breaks. The proof is a lot of us who went overseas, when it was just them controlling who went overseas, and when they got back, they went right into the hive mind, went right into the cult, went right into the gang. It was okay. When they couldn't control who went overseas anymore, when they couldn't control who learned Arabic. When they couldn't control the flow of information, we saw the hive mind break. And by Allah's permission, we watched this summer, we watched brave people in our community finally said they had enough. And they stood up and they took their communities back and said, we want a future for our women and children. That's what happened this summer. And I'm not saying we got all the pieces together, but people finally said, we had enough of this foreign invasion, and we're going to put you behinds back on a boat, back across the Atlantic, back to the island you call Britain. And you can take your ideology and your foreign ways back with you. Because that don't work for our people. That doesn't work in the inner city. What you're talking about doesn't work. I mean, they have created such an environment of hate that we hate our mothers, we hate our fathers, we hate our aunts, we hate our brothers, we hate everybody. That's not the truth. The truth is not something where it's like a ball in your chest, where you're angry at everything and everybody. That's not the truth. The Prophet ﷺ was sent with mercy for mankind. How is hating everything and everybody a rahmah? When you see a non-believer, you should feel pity and sadness. Your heart should break that somebody's in that condition. But yet and still, we have learned that when we see them, we look at them as insignificant. And this is the problem. This is the problem. And they try to use ayats where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that they're worse than creation. Naam, that's hukm rabbaniyya. That's a ruling from Allah that the disbelievers are worse than creation. Is they the worst of creation because of what they believe? Or they the worst of creation because of their personality, who they are as people? Which one? Is it that I hate this particular my neighbor because his name is John? Or do I hate the kufr that he's upon because he tramples the rights of my Lord? Which one is it? And this is the problem. This is the problem. So he says, ironically, there are a dozen of Salafi scholars, professors, and students who possess degrees. Now look at this. They disparage education, but the scholars don't. Look at this. Sheikh Dr. Abdul Salam al-Burjis, rahimahullah. Sheikh Dr. Salih ibn Abdullah ibn Humayd, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Abdullah ibn Abdul Rahman al-Ghudiyan, rahimahullah. Sheikh Dr. Salih ibn Fawzan bin al-Fawzan, hafizahullah. We got some more. Sheikh Dr. Rabi ibn al-Madkhli, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Salih ibn Sa'ad al-Suhaimi, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Faleh Ismail Mundikar, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Muhammad ibn Sa'id Raslan, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Muhammad ibn Umar Bazmou, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Ali Nasser al-Fiqih, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Wasiyullah Abbas, hafizahullah. Sheikh Dr. Abdul Razak al-Albad, hafizahullah. All of them got doctoral, PhDs. But yet still you tell my people that education, we don't need it. That's what you tell my people. And we done had enough. We don't had enough. I'm saying, brothers, go get them high school diplomas. I'm saying, brothers, it's time to get out educated and stop letting our women take care of it. Because let me tell you something. I grew up poor. I'm a poor black man. But I'm not trying to stay like that. Okay? I got a family, and I want my family to be proud of who their father is and who their husband is. Okay? And when they look up, I want them to see a Muslim man who cares enough about them that he's willing to do whatever it takes in the halal means to go to these universities, to go to these trade schools, to deal and be patient with the harm of the kuffar, so I can get a piece of paper that'll raise my income up a level so I can take care of my family. That's a man. That's a man. With all the harm of the kuffar. No doubt they got some harm with them. But guess what? The harm of not being educated, the harm of staying in poverty might be greater than the harm of being patient with them in a classroom. And that's just the real. Sheikh Salih Fawzan stated, one with a degree does not need a license to teach, yet an individual without a degree does. By disparaging education, untaught individuals are allowed to remain in their positions. See, we get into the agenda. With the title Imam, Da'i, and Student of Knowledge. You know why they disparage education? Because what happens is when people come back and they have these educations, they have these titles, they have these degrees. What happens to the guys that's been faking the whole time running our communities? They get found out that what? They ain't really holding nothing. Like Mufti said, it's a new sheriff in town. It's a new day. Guess what? You ain't the only ones who know Arabic. Guess what? You don't even have degrees. Now people come back with degrees. And guess what? The sun is setting. The sun is setting. And all we got to do now, brothers and sisters, is keep standing up for what we believe in and say we had enough. Because I'm telling you right now, even though sometimes this woman I'm with gets on my nerves, but I love her dearly. Because you know why? She kicks my behind to do better. So I'm telling you, sisters, if you love your man, he loves you, kick his behind until he does better. I don't care if he argues. I don't care if he burps. I don't care if he screams. I don't care if he slams doors. I don't care if he holler at you. Keep telling him, baby, you can do better. And I'm telling you, she does that. And I'm telling you, it drives me nuts. But at the end of the day, I'm doing better. I'm back in school because somebody was cared enough to say, hey, baby, you can do better. That's just the bottom line, y'all. That's just the bottom line. So it says, none of which they really qualify to hold. However, when unchallenged, they retain the chair. On one side of the coin, a question must be asked. How is it that a person who spent 6 to 9 months or maybe a year in Egypt or Yemen or Saudi 10 or 15 years ago or even 20 years ago knows so much after returning back to the West while having never studied again since that date be worthy to hold such a title today? How do we allow that? How do we understand that? That means that they only can run this game on a community that has low self-esteem. Because how is it that you're watching people like Ali Davis, Tahir, Mufti, Shadid, you're watching them with degrees, qualified people. You're allowing people who spent 9 months in Yemen to tell you that they're not qualified, because it's all about keeping position. People need to stay in position. And that's all it's about. So instead of assassination, putting a bullet in somebody's head, we assassinate your character. Because I need to stay in position. Because I live off the dawah. And why? The problem is the dawah should be we should be taking care of the dawah. We should be taking care of the dawah, not the dawah taking care of us. So the problem is, you're absolutely right. The issue is that you'll find that this extremism, this group or this cult is one step away. It's a thin line between extremism that calls themselves Salafis and the Khawarij. It's a very thin line between the extremism of this Salafi cult and the Khawarij. Because you're taught to hate everybody. You know? So the Khawarij is the same thing. The only thing now saving them from going past that line is certain principles they have with them from the scholars that's keeping them from going over that line. But it's coming. It's coming. It's definitely coming. On the other side of the coin, can an untaught individual lead others in religious affairs? Premise upon nepotism, race, or the pigmentation of his skin. Al-Khalid ibn Ahmed stated, there are 3 or 4 types of people you can speak with. Think, listen to this. A man who knows and recognizes he has knowledge, so speak to him. A man who has knowledge, but he believes that he does not, accordingly, speak to him. A man who does not know and is aware of the fact that he does not possess knowledge, so speak to him. Then there is a person who has no knowledge, but he believes he is knowledgeable, do not speak to him. But yet and still, you hear people say, I sit with so-and-so. I sit with so Ustav. They calling these people Ustav, y'all. You know? And we have to really step it up. We have to step it up. Or our children are in jeopardy to live in the same nightmare we have lived for 20 years. It's a nightmare, akhi. This is a nightmare, akhi. Wallah, it's a nightmare. And when we going to wake up from it? When we going to wake up from it? It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So, now, We have here cherry picking. And we're just going to read a little bit of it because it's kind of long. It says, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا حَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَكْتُمُوا حَقَّ. They cherry picking, selective reporting. What they do, and they mix not truth with falsehood nor conceal the truth. Cherry picking, selective reporting is the act of suppressing evidence or presenting partial facts to individual cases or selected Muslims that seem to confirm a particular position while ignoring a significant portion of related cases or facts that may contradict that position. This fallacy is a major problem within Muslim communities around the world today. People of desires and innovation use selective reporting to sway opinion that might not be swayed if all the information and facts were to be given. Said, and but do the Jews not know that Allah knows what they conceal and what they reveal? This thing here, they'll throw out there, he said, or the brother said he said, or they'll take a piece of a statement where somebody might say, if that's Salafiyah, then I'm an innovator. And they'll take that part, I'm an innovator. They'll just put that part on a video. I'm an innovator. And they say, look, so-and-so called himself an innovator. They didn't use the before the statement or after the statement. They just took that one statement. This is tabloid tactics, y'all. Then they block people's eyes out and stuff like that. We keep falling for it. And I'm telling y'all, it's even more sinister than that. It's even more sinister than that. Look at the techniques that they're using. Who are they learning these techniques from? This looked like CNN, Fox News, CIA tactics to me. Well, they can sit down and talk about the cat. But we don't want to call nobody out on it. We're not going to call nobody out on it. We don't think for 1 second that the alphabet agencies, the CIA and all that stuff like that is not aiding these people. It's too organized. We're dealing with guys who actually, hey, what's going on, bro? What's going on, man? How you doing? What's up, man? I know Robbie get out tomorrow, man, but I'm all the way down in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm going to see him, inshallah, next month when I come up. So this is the thing, and we have to understand. We have to understand that the reality is that there are groups amongst us who are being controlled by outside forces. It's too organized. And they don't want any rectification. There's no reason, no attempt to build the community up. Somebody else is controlling the strings. There's a puppet master somewhere. But yet and still, we close our eyes to it. Ask you this. Why is it people in our communities who have whole other countries they could be in, teaching their own people, but they're in our communities, in the ghettos of America, teaching us? People are from Britain. What are you doing in Philadelphia? But we never ask those questions. We never ask them, why you made home here? And you have a whole people who have more right to you and your knowledge in Britain, but you're here in Philadelphia. It doesn't make sense, but we never ask those questions. And he says, فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا قَوْلًا غَيْرَ الَّذِي قِيلَ لَهُمْ. But those who did wrong alter the words from that which had been told to them for another. Isn't that what they do? You'll find these characteristics in the Jewish people. But we find the same characteristics in the so-called Salafi sect. The same characteristics. They hear a word, they turn that word, and they bounce the word off this, and they change it. Oh, we definitely going to do that, man. We definitely going to do that. I mean, I hope you feel better, man. I'm going to ask Allah, man, let you get to your surgery safe and sound. I mean, it's my cousin Bo and Raynell. He going for surgery, so Allah, may Allah, make it easy for him. I mean. So cherry picking leads to faulty extrapolation, or what is more commonly stated as jumping to conclusions. Jumping to conclusions. People tend to draw conclusions in alignment with what they want to believe, even when the evidence is insufficient. Subsequently, they try to convince other people that those beliefs are accurate by reversing the process, selecting facts that support the faulty conclusion. That's what they do. That's what they do. But when it comes on them, one of them are accused of fornication, accused of having a baby out of wedlock, and there may be some evidence towards that. They say, oh, you don't have no evidence. You didn't see with your own eyes. But then you just put something else on somebody else. And you went right past all the conditions of something like that being accepted. And you pushed the agenda, and everybody believes that brother is like this. But when it came back on you, you didn't do it. A woman comes and says so-and-so slept with me, and goes to a lecture and pass out flyers, tells the tattoos on the guy, shows his email address, and all of that other stuff like that. They say the woman's crazy. No one addressed it. They swept it under the rug. Now, would the Prophet ﷺ has swept it under the rug? Or would he have now heard what the woman had to say and brought both parties together to try to find the truth? Tell me what would have happened. But yet and still, we cherry pick. We cherry pick. We hear something about somebody. I heard so-and-so did this. Then he tells somebody else. Then by the time it gets to the fourth person, he actually did it. Yeah, I know he did. I seen him. The brother said he seen him do it. You see how it changes up as the story goes along? Like a snowball. And it rolls and it rolls and it rolls and it rolls. And we're not catching it. An example of this is quite common among those propagandist exploits. Is when a story is cooked up with the title such and such has opposed the scholars. Even though he may not even oppose anybody. But if he did, he may oppose one or two of their scholars, who are 3 or 4, and he may not agree with them on the issue. And that scholar may have said somebody's an innovator. Now that brother say, well, I'm going with the scholars who don't say he's an innovator. And now you're saying he's opposing the scholars because he doesn't agree with your 4 scholars. So that means he's opposing the scholars. So they put the and S. They put the in the beginning, S at the end of the scholars. So when they say he opposes the scholars, the people in the masjid are saying, oh, he went against the ijma'. He went against the scholars of the sunnah. This is ridiculous. And they've been running this game for years. But it's breaking apart. You telling me because I don't agree with a particular scholar on the issue, that's going against the scholars? Every scholar in the world? Yeah, they're going to use a definite article in plurals. But see, that's how they get it. The definite article with the plural, the S on it, is a catchphrase. It's a propaganda technique. It's a propaganda technique. And this is what they do. Like, for example, partial facts are then included, yet the significant facts are excluded. Facts such as the position the person selects, in actuality, is supported by other contemporary Sunni scholars, or even Salafi scholars from the past. It is also quite common that these issues included in the case does not hold a consensus or even a majority amongst the scholars' views. So the issue could be a cause for the person to shoulder the entire blame for this view. Signs of cherry picking include quoting out of context, false attribution, compound questioning, loaded questions, loaded language. This propaganda trick is one wickedness acts the Muslims can perform when reporting in fact. This an act is a clear sign, according to the scholars, of being an innovator. One of the signs of an innovator of bid'ah is loaded language, loaded questions. Like what did the man do to Imam Ahmed? He said, how does Allah rise above his throne? A loaded question. He wanted a loaded response. He wanted to cause problems. To do this, to have these attributes, is a category of Ahlul Bid'ah. And everybody want to say, oh, Ahlul Bid'ah, by Allah. These characteristics, these propaganda techniques has 2 groups of people. 3. Either it's the text of the Kuffar, CNN, Fox, of the Munafiqun, and of Ahlul Bid'ah. We don't find these techniques being used by Ahlul Sunnah. By Ahlul Sunnah. The Jews came to Allah's apostle and told him that a man and a woman from amongst them had committed illegal sexual intercourse. Allah's apostle said to them, what do you find in the Torah, the Old Testament, about the legal punishment of stoning someone? They replied, we announced their crime and lashed them. Abdullah ibn Salam said, you are telling a lie. The Torah contains the order of stoning the person. They brought and opened the Torah, and one of them said, put his hand over the verse of stoning and read the verse preceding and following it. Abdullah ibn Salam said to him, lift your hand. When he lifted his hand, the verse of stoning was written there. They said, Muhammad has told the truth. The Torah has the verse of stoning. The Prophet then gave the order that both of them should be stoned to death. Abdullah ibn Umar said, I saw the man leaning over the woman to shelter her from the stones. See that? Cover up. See, the thing is, man, this is a cloak and dagger operation. This is a covered up operation. This is what we do. See, what they do is that, and this is what we got to get hit to. I don't know about nobody else. I grew up in North Philly. I'm just keeping it real. I grew up in the streets, in the middle of Philadelphia. You're not going to run this stuff on me. I see it coming a mile away. I don't know how they got this stuff over us. You know how they got it over us? They used our emotions against us, our religion against us. We loved Islam. We love following the scholars. We love the Sunnah, and they just use it against us. That's how they was able to get us. That's how they were able to get us. And they went to an uneducated group of people, and they led them to believing that they were being educated, and they never were. It's very easy to tell an uneducated group of people that they're being educated when they never had education before, and they're learning some new things, so they feel as though now they're educated. That's what you do. You turn the light on a little bit. You dim it. So now they keep trying to turn the light up. So you got to keep going to you for that light, though. You got to keep going to you for that charge. Got to keep going to you to get that electric bill paid. You make them what? Needy and in need of you. Because you never let them learn anything that will get them over the hump. Not too much Arabic, not too much Quran, just enough to where you can maybe read a text, but you still need us though. Yeah, we'll give you enough to where you can ride the bike a little bit, but I still got to hold the steering wheel in the seat while you going. You understand what I'm saying? This is what they do. And this is what the same thing like the brother's saying. I believe without a shadow of a doubt, my personal belief is that this Salafi organization that has nothing to do with the manager of the Salaf was placed in our ranks to cause disunity and confusion, and it was done on purpose. It was planned. It's been financed and backed by the enemies of Allah. Sheikh Mukbil, rahimahullah, stated, among the signs of Ahlul Bid'ah is they narrate what is for them and conceal what is against them. An obvious sign that you are being cherry-picked is the reporting of a single word followed by the words, this proves that. You ever see they do that? Or the phrase, what's the connection between the two? Followed by the answer is clear. Cherry-picked articles and lectures containing languages or persuasive techniques that do the thinking for you and keep you misinformed. That's what they do. That proves that. What's the connection between those two things? You see how they do that? Like, for example, I'm talking to you, and I'm telling you a story, and then you say, that proves that, doesn't it? Then you're like, yeah, that do. Or somebody says, what's the connection between those two things? You see? See how he said this, but then this happened? See the connection? They do the thinking for you. They tell you what to think. Is that not what CNN does? What Fox does? Is that not what they do? ABC News? NBC News? This is what they do. They tell you how you should feel and how you think. They pour the Kool-Aid in the cup and you drink it. And they keep you misinformed. So at the end of that, we're going to stop there. But I just want everybody to say this, and I'm going to let everybody go. This is from the bottom of my heart. The beginning of the change has to come from a nuclear family. We have to stop getting divorces, y'all. And I'm telling you, sometimes the woman that get on your nerves, sometimes the man gets on your nerves. Don't get me wrong. My wife, she's sitting right here, and that woman gets on my nerves sometimes. I might have to pay for staying there later. But she does. But guess what? I know she loves me. And I know that she doesn't want nothing for good for me. And if you don't got a woman that's willing to kick your behind and wants you to get more and better, then brother, you haven't lived yet. You haven't lived. So it starts in the nuclear family. It starts there. We got to stop getting divorces, y'all. We got to stop. Take your time, find a mate, and get married. And stop getting divorces over every single thing. Everything. We have one argument, and she get, man, this sister tripping. I'm out of here. This brother, man, he tripping. I'm out of here. This is what we do. And if we're going to create or establish a new world in a new life, then brothers, we got to stay married. And I'm talking to the brothers because we're responsible. Our problem is we've been raised by women our whole life, and a lot of us are more feminine than we are masculine. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The problem is that a lot of our men are itchy, don't know how to make decisions, impatient, and way too emotional. That comes from being raised only by a woman because we don't have balance. We don't have the gentle with the tough. We have overly tough. We think it's manhood, but it's really not. It's really just us masking things and us just being tough because we don't have nothing else to do. But the reality is this. If the men don't step up and fix these problems, then we finished. And if we don't start putting our women in their rightful places as the queens in our home and treating them as such, then we already lost. We already lost. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell all of you this. Wallahi, by Allah, and I may get emotional. Allah has finally allowed me to have a woman that I know cares about me and willing to fight for me. And I'm going to tell you right now that I've never felt that a day in my life. And I'm glad Allah let me feel that. Because at the end of the day, Sheikh, I'm willing to fight for her and my children and my stepchildren and give my life for them and for Allah's religion. Because you know what? At the end of the day, if we don't have that, then we're finished, Akhi. We're finished. Because the problem is that if we don't start accepting criticism, we don't start accepting and we don't start saying that we can fight and fight for our lives. This is for our lives, Akhi. The lives of our children, the lives of our families. This is for their lives and their souls, Akhi. And if we're not willing to stand up for that, then I don't know what we're willing to stand up for. I'm telling y'all, we watched 20 years of destruction. We watched 20 years of death. We watched 20 years of our children being murdered in the streets, getting certain ages and leaving our homes and not being religious anymore. We watched it happen. But yet and still, we still haven't established a university or Muslim high schools or anything. We got to stop this stuff. I'm telling you right now, brothers, turn around and look at your wives and look at your children in the face right now and tell me you can continue to look in their faces and don't do for them. Tell me that you continue to look in their faces and don't establish a future for them. Tell me. Please tell me. And you sisters, how can you continue to turn around and look in the face of that man and you don't make him responsible for his children? You don't make him responsible for you. We have to stop this stuff because our communities are suffering because we won't be men. And we have to stop. We have to stop this stuff. Because if we don't make each other responsible and accountable for one another, we're going to die. Either we're going to hang together or hang separately. And at the end of the day, look in the face of your children and tell me that you're not going to stand up for them. You telling me, sister, that you're going to say you love this man, but you're not going to make him responsible? That's not love. We have to be responsible for one another. And we have to stop this stuff because we're dying, wallahi. And I'm sorry that I got emotional, but we got to stop this stuff, akhi. I'm almost 40 years old. And I've wasted years in that coat. Years. Years. I wasted years in it. And by the time I looked up, my hair is gray. My beard is turning gray. And I'm almost 40 years old. And I looked around and I haven't established one thing for my children. I'm going to leave. If you don't work and get yourself together at this point, we're going to leave our children as a burden on the community. Where our wives are going to struggle and have to go around asking just to bury us. How many years we're going to keep wasting? Talk about who's on it and who's off it. How many times we're going to keep wasting? How many times you going to keep wasting and telling me to busy myself with something going on in the desert? But as my community burns to the ground and our kids are dying in the streets, our women are married and divorced, where's the jealousy for our women? Somebody got to tell me, where's the jealousy for our women? We keep letting these guys pass our women from marriage to marriage. We keep allowing our women to go to the kuffar and get Section 8 and welfare, but we won't stand up and be men and take care of them. Wallahi. We act like boys. When are we going to have enough? We tell our kids the kuffars are enemies, but yet and still, we allow our children to be fed by them. We allow our children to be clothed by them. We allow our children to be housed by them. When are we going to stop this stuff? We got to stop it, akhi. We got to stop it. At the end of the day, we got to stand up and take our communities back and say we had enough of this stuff, akhi. I'm not okay with my daughters taking welfare from a non-Muslims and living in Section 8 and start that whole cycle again. By Allah of my dead body, I'm ever going to allow my daughters to be somewhere laying up, being somebody's cum receptacle on Section 8, taking welfare. That's not happening. Their father is going to give his life to make sure they're respected and honored. And that's the bottom line. My son is going to grow to be men. Men, not abandoning their children. Not acting like, this woman's getting on my nerves. You made those kids, akhi. We got to stop this stuff, akh. We got to stop this stuff, man. We got to stop this stuff. You telling me right now, that woman getting on your nerves that much, you going to walk away from those precious children? And I'm going to stop there. I'm sorry I got a little emotional, but we got to stop this stuff, man. We got to stop. Our communities are dying, and these guys are trying to busy us with bull crap. Crap in a desert that has nothing to do with you or me. But while time going by, we don't have no education, no stability. We don't own nothing, but you telling me I got to take so-and-so's off it. I got to worry about if a towel that was given in the middle of a desert. No, I'm a man. I don't have to accept nobody's fatwa or nobody's anything for that matter. You got to bring me kitab or sunnah wa ijma'. The only man that I follow, blind follow, is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's it. If you're not bringing me his statement, everybody else's statement, I can reply back to, and I don't have to accept it. Not unless it coincides with the statement of Allah. And the greatest of creation is Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's it. Nobody else. So I ask everybody, may Allah bless you all. And may Allah help us all. And I'm telling you, brothers, go back to school. Starting businesses. Get together as a group wherever you are. Put your money down. Open up businesses. Come on, y'all. I'm watching two brothers right now from where I'm from in Gotham City. One of the worst neighborhoods in America coming together to start a business. So they can take care of their families. So they can leave something for their families. That's what men do. That's what men do. That's what they do. So y'all brothers right now that's all hanging out with each other, eating pizza, hanging out at Starbucks, take that money and put it together, open up something. You can sit around all day in Starbucks. You can sit around all day on Scepter. You can spend all your money on food. You can go here and go that. You telling me you can't slow down for a moment to come up with an idea together, collectively? We should be ashamed of ourselves. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.